Right now, beneath everything you are thinking, there is a fact. One you have spent your entire life not quite looking at. You are going to die. Not as an idea. You know the idea. As you, this warm, particular, irreplaceable you, will stop. And reading that, you feel almost nothing, a smooth, practiced, sliding away. And that numbness is not the absence of fear, it is the fear doing its job. The most powerful force in your life is the one you were built never to feel, because you are the only animal that carries this knowledge. The gazelle runs from the lion, and the moment it is safe, it grazes in peace. It does not lie awake. It does not dread a distant day. You do. You can be seized on an ordinary sunlit afternoon by a truth about a day that may be decades away. You are an animal that knows it will die. And that knowledge is so unbearable that your whole mind and your whole world were built, in part, for a single, secret purpose: to hide it from you. Half a century ago, an anthropologist named Ernest Becker said this plainly enough to win a Pulitzer, and to unsettle an entire field. Civilization itself, he argued, is a defense against the terror of death. Everything, the cathedrals and the careers, the flags and the fortunes, the need to be right and the need to be remembered, all of it, at bottom, a shield, held up against the dark. And psychologists took that idea into the laboratory and gave it a colder name: terror management. The quiet, constant work of managing a terror you do not consciously feel. And what they found is stranger than the theory. A whisper of death, barely conscious, quietly changes how you judge a stranger, how hard you cling to your side, how much you want to buy, even who you are willing to hurt, all while you feel perfectly reasonable. So over the next while, we are going to lift the lid on the buried fear and watch it move the parts of your life you were certain were simply you, your beliefs, your loyalties, your hatreds, your hungers. Not so that you will be afraid. You have been afraid your whole life. That is the problem. But so that you can finally see the one thing you have been organized your entire life not to see. It arrives early, earlier than you remember. A child, maybe 5, maybe 6, playing in the ordinary light of an ordinary day, and a thought walks in that never fully leaves. Wait, the dog died. Grandmother died. Does that mean my mother? Does that mean me? And the mind reels. Because it has struck an impossibility, it cannot picture its own absence. Try it now. Imagine the world without you in it. You cannot, because the one doing the imagining is still there. You are trying to see a room with no one to see it. And here is the exact shape of the human wound. Becker put it brutally: we are half animal, a body that leaks and ages and will rot, and half something that soars, a mind that can hold the stars and eternity and its own vast name, a God who must defecate, an eternity trapped in meat that is dying. No animal was ever asked to carry a contradiction like that, and you cannot live staring straight at it. A person who felt the full weight of their own death every waking minute could not get out of bed, could not love, could not build. The terror would swallow the day. So the mind does the only thing it can. It does not solve the terror. It cannot. It buries it. It takes the unbearable thing and lowers it below the floor of your attention, out of the light, where you will not trip over it every hour. But here is the thing about burying. What you bury does not die. It does not leave. It goes underground. And from there, unseen, unfelt, it pushes up into everything you think and want and do. And psychologists found the burying happens on two separate floors. On the surface, when death comes near, a headline, a diagnosis, a near miss on the road, you push it off with reasons. I am young. I am careful. Not now. Not me. And it works. For a moment. But the real machine runs far below that. On a floor you never visit. Long after the conscious thought is gone, the death stays active down there, humming. And it is from there, hidden from you, that it reaches up and quietly takes the wheel. So if you cannot kill the terror, you must hold something against it. And Becker saw that we hold up two great shields. Almost everything you value, almost everything you chase, is one of these two. And you have never once seen them for what they are. The first is a story, bigger than you, older than you, and built to outlast you. A worldview, your religion, your nation, your cause, your people, a vision of reality where things mean something, where there is order and justice, and a permanence that does not end when you do. And when you belong to it, truly belong, something extraordinary happens. You, a small dying animal, become a thread in something that will not die. The nation goes on, the faith goes on, the cause goes on, and carried inside it, so quietly, do you. But belonging to the story is not enough. You must also earn a place in it. And that is the second shield, self-esteem, not vanity, something far deeper, the need to feel that you matter, that your life counts, that you are a person of value in a world of meaning. And every world hands you the yardstick. Be a good provider, a holy man, a warrior, a scholar, a success. Meet the standard, and you feel solid, significant, safe. Fall short, and a strange, bottomless dread leaks up from below. Now you know the name of that dread. It was never really about the job, because together these two shields do something magnificent and desperate. They promise a kind of immortality, not of the body. The body is lost, but of the symbol, your name, your work, your children, your people, something of you that crosses the line you cannot cross yourself. And once you see it everywhere. It is why men build monuments with their names cut into the stone, why we long for children to carry us on, why we serve something eternal, why we ache to leave a mark. Becker had a name for all of it. Immortality projects, the great works we build to not entirely die. Now a fair objection. This is a lovely dark theory, but how could you ever test it? How do you measure a fear no one will admit to? A force that only works while it stays hidden? The answer was ingenious, and it built an entire science. You do not ask people about death. You simply remind them, gently, almost invisibly, a few lines on a form. Describe what will happen to you as you die, and what will become of your body. A small, cold reminder. Then you set it aside. And here is the crucial part. You do not measure right away. You let them get distracted. You wait for the conscious thought to fade. Because the deep machine only takes over once the surface has looked away. You measure the fear precisely when they think it is gone. And then the first famous result. They took real judges, men and women who set bail for a living, trained, sober, proud of their fairness. Exactly the people who would swear that nothing nudges their judgment, that the law and the law alone moves their hand. Half of them first filled out that small death form. The other half did not. Then all of them were handed the very same case. A woman accused of a crime that offended the moral order. Set her bail. The judges who had not thought of death set a routine bail, around $50. The judges who had set it at over 400, nearly 9 times higher, for the same woman, the same crime, the same law, and not one of those judges felt the fear move their hand. Everyone could give you a clean legal reason. Everyone believed they were simply doing justice. The death they had glimpsed and forgotten reached up from below and made them cruel, and called it the law. And this was not a fluke. It became one of the most studied effects in the field, run 1,000 different ways. Remind a person of death and watch the shields snap up. They cling harder to their own. They punish the outsider more. They reward the hero more. All from a whisper. They swear they never even heard. So look closely at what the shield actually does. Because it explains something about you have always felt and never understood. Remind people of death and they grow more patriotic, more devout, more certain that their way of seeing the world is the right one, the one true one. They pull their own closer. The people who share the story, who bow to the same flag, who answer to the same name for God. Because if the story is your shield against the dark, then everyone who believes it with you is holding the shield up. Every fellow believer makes the wall a little thicker. But then someone appears at the edge, someone who does not believe it, another faith, another flag, another way of answering the biggest questions. And they seem fine, content, certain of their story, the way you are certain of yours. And that, without a word, is a threat, a deep one, because if their story works for them, then maybe yours is not the one true answer. Maybe it is just a story, one of many, and a shield you suspect is only a story has already begun to fail. So the mere existence of the other is felt as an attack, not on your body, on your immortality. And this is why a difference of belief that changes nothing in your daily life can enrage you out of all proportion. Why the heretic, the infidel, the unbeliever stirs a fury that mere rivalry never could. And there are only a few ways to make that threat go away. You can belittle them, make them lesser, barely people at all. You can convert them, pull them into your story so their agreement proves you right. Or when belittling and converting fail, you can do the last terrible thing. You can remove them from the world entirely, so that no one is left to suggest that your shield was ever only a story. So step back now and look at the pattern this reveals, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it in the whole of human history. The wars fought not over land, not over bread, but over whose invisible story is true, whose God, whose flag, whose version of forever. The ordinary decent person who becomes strangely cruel the moment the other group is named, who feels a clean, hot certainty rise in them, a sense of being utterly right and righteous and justified in the contempt. And that feeling of righteousness is the most dangerous disguise the fear ever wears, because it does not feel like fear. It feels like virtue, like standing for something pure. The terror of the grave comes up through the floor and puts on the robe of the saint. It is why a frightened people reach so easily for a scapegoat. Name the outsider as the source of all that is wrong, and a formless, bottomless dread suddenly has a face, a target, something you can fight, something you can defeat. You cannot kill death, but you can kill the one you have blamed for it. And watch what happens to a whole society when death stops being hidden. A plague, a war, a terror on the news, night after night. The shield goes up across a nation, flags multiply, the stranger grows suspect, the dissenter becomes a traitor. Not because people turned evil, because people grew afraid. And here is the hardest thing to hold. The same hidden fear drives both sides, the one who kills for his God and the one who kills to stamp out his. Each defending a shield, each certain he is the good one, each a terrified animal, fleeing the same fact, wearing the mask of the hero. But the fear does not only turn you against the stranger, it also drives you hard from the inside. Remember the second shield, self-esteem, the need to be someone, to matter. And in a world that no longer offers everyone a clear, sacred role, that need goes looking for proof. And so, the striving, the title, the bigger house, the number in the account that is never quite big enough, the followers, the applause, the desperate modern ache to be seen, to be known, to matter to strangers who will never meet you. Ask why it never feels enough. Because no amount of it can do the one job you have secretly hired it for, to make you unkillable. And notice where the striving always reaches, toward the thing that lasts longer than you. The legacy, the name on the building, the body of work, the empire, anything that will still be standing, still be spoken when the mouth that spoke it is dust. Every one, a small bid for forever, and the people who sell to you know this better than you do. Why does the luxury watch cost as much as a house? It keeps no better time. Listen to how they sell it. You never actually own it. You merely look after it for the next generation. That is not a watch. That is a thread of permanence. A tiny heirloom immortality that you can buy and strap to your wrist. And even the smaller hungers, the buying, the scrolling, the endless filling of a space inside that never stays full. Studies found it. Remind people of death, and many reach to buy more, to eat more, to gather more around them, as if enough stuff, enough comfort, could wall out the dark. It is the animal building a nest against a winter that comes for everyone. Now put these two pieces together. A hidden fear that makes you cling to your side and hunger to feel significant. And ask the dangerous question, what happens when someone learns to pull that lever on purpose? Because the formula is old, and it never fails. First, raise the death, the enemy at the gates, the threat to your children, the end of your whole way of life. And then, once the fear is loose, offer yourself as the shield. I alone can protect you. Follow me and you will be safe. Follow me and you will be part of something that does not die. And a frightened people will follow almost anyone who promises to hold the dark back. Studies showed it plainly. Remind people of death, and their craving for a strong, charismatic leader climbs. Their patience for the calm, the complex, the moderate falls. Fear does not want nuance. Fear wants a wall, and a man who swears he is the wall. You have lived through this. Think of any nation, the week after a great attack, death on every screen, and a whole people pulling together, flags in every window, leaders soaring in the polls, the doubter silenced, the outsider eyed with suspicion. A grief that was real, riding a fear that was ancient. And once you know the lever is there, you will see hands reaching for it everywhere. The politician, the preacher, the channel, that must keep you afraid to keep you watching, each learning the same dark art. Raise the terror of the end, then sell the shield. It is the oldest trade there is.
Now I have to stop and turn the light around.
On to the theory itself, because it would be its own kind of comforting lie to hand you all this as settled fact. It is not. And an episode about the fears we refuse to face cannot flinch from this one. For decades, this was one of the most celebrated ideas in psychology. Hundreds of studies, that elegant judge's result. A grand theory of nearly everything. It felt too beautiful to be wrong. And that feeling, that too beautiful, is exactly when a careful mind should get nervous. So recently, a small army of researchers did the honest, unglamorous thing. They tried to run the classic experiment again, carefully, at scale, not one lab, many, thousands of people, every step declared in advance, so no one could quietly bend the result to fit the hope, and with the theory's own founders helping design it. And the whisper of death, the one that had moved 1,000 earlier studies this time, barely moved anything at all. The great effect shrank to almost nothing. The flagship result, the one that built the theory's fame, did not reliably appear. And the field split. The founders pushed back hard. You changed the method. The magic lives in details you got wrong. And maybe, but the honest reading is humbling. Much of that early dazzling literature was almost certainly inflated by the quiet habits of a science that published its hits and buried its misses. So hold both of these at once. The precise laboratory effect is far shakier than the textbooks ever told you. And yet, the thing underneath it, the human predicament Becker pointed at, does not need a lab to prove it. You have only to look at a graveyard, at a monument, at a holy war, at your own quiet flinch from the fact that started all this. The experiment may wobble, the fear does not.
So come back now, to you, because all of this, the shields, the striving, the tribes, the fear of the stranger, was never really about them. It was about the thing beneath your own feet. The fear you began this, never feeling. So consider the possibility, quietly, just for a moment, that some of your deepest certainties, some of your fiercest loyalties, some of your oldest contempt for the people on the other side, are not the clear conclusions of a free and open mind, but the frightened motion of an animal, fleeing a fact. So hear this, as plainly as it can be said. So much of what you call your values may be your fear of death, wearing a mask you have never once lifted, the belief you would argue to the death, the ambition that will not let you rest, the person you cannot forgive for seeing the world differently. Lift the mask on any of them, and you may find the same small, frightened face. Not evil, not stupid, just an animal that knows too much, trying desperately not to. And there is something strange that happens the moment you see this. The contempt loosens, just a little, because the person across the divide is not a monster. They are holding a shield too, trembling behind it, exactly as you are. You are both just scared of the same dark. Now this could leave you cold. If it is all a flight from death, what is the point? But here the story turns. Because the very same knowledge that can drive you blind can also, if you let it, wake you up. There are two ways to hold a death. One is denial, bury it, and let it drive you from below. And that is the road we have walked this whole time. The tribes, the hunger, the masks. But there is another door. Ask anyone who has come truly close. The diagnosis that was later undone,
the crash they walked away from, and they will tell you the same strange thing. For a while after, the colours were brighter, the petty things fell away. They held the people they loved, like they meant it. They were, for once, completely here. And the researchers found this too, that there is a difference between a jolt of terror and a slow, steady reflection on the fact that you will end. The terror pushes you into the tribe, but the reflection, the quiet, unflinching, held awareness, tends to do the opposite. It makes people kinder, more grateful, more generous, more present, less gripped by the small and the status and the noise. Because here is the secret the fear keeps from you. Death is not only the thing that takes the value away, it is the thing that puts the value there. Imagine a life that never ended, endless, guaranteed, and every moment, every meeting, every sunrise grows cheap. There is always more. It is the ending that makes the morning precious, the limit that makes the love mean anything at all. The very shadow you have spent your life fleeing is the thing that gives your life its shape. Take the shadow away, and the light has no edges, nothing to press against, nothing to make this hour, this one irreplaceable hour, matter.
So what do you actually do with this? Not cure it.
You cannot. The fear is stitched into the fact of being an animal that knows. The goal is not to remove the fear. It is to stop letting it drive while blindfolded. And the first tool is simply to learn its smell. To recognize the fear when it comes up the stairs wearing one of its masks. So watch for the heat, the certainty that flares too hot, the contempt for the other side that feels too good, the craving for more that never fills. Each is smoke, and under the smoke, nearly always, the same old fire. And when you feel it, you ask the question that breaks the spell. Is this really about this? Or am I defending a shield? Am I right, or am I just afraid? You will not always like the answer, but the question alone loosens the grip. And the second tool is what you do with the stranger, the one whose different story quietly threatens yours. You can let them live. You can let their story exist beside yours without needing to crush it to feel safe. Because now you know the truth. Your fury at their difference was never about them. It was the dark at your own back. And the third is the oldest practice there is, the one every deep tradition arrived at on its own. Do not bury the death. Keep it gently in view, not to torment yourself, to clarify. Because a person who truly remembers they will die wastes less time on the wrong things, forgives faster, loves harder, says the true thing while the mouth still can. The fear you never feel will always be there, humming below the floor. You cannot send it away, but you can bring it up into the light. And a fear you can see can be reasoned with. It stops being the hidden hand on the wheel and becomes something quieter, an honest reminder that the time is real and short. You came here to understand a fear you were sure you did not really have. Leave knowing it may be the quiet architect of nearly everything you have ever believed, chased, defended, and hated. The shields you hold, the tribe you cling to, the mark you ache to leave, all of it raised over a single buried fact you were built never to look at. And the strange mercy is this. Look at it on purpose, even a little, and it stops running you from the shadows. The thing that drives you blind in the dark becomes a light the moment you turn and face it. See what people hide, even from themselves.